this month's meeting. Any other business?
Yeah, just to follow up on the topic last, and I won't rehash the topic last meeting because you said you'll go back and review the tapes, you'll hear that, but the core of it was just following up on a request that the committee do what it can to foster civility, improved more professionalism among the committee and related bodies. And I think we've taken a kind of a step back just as a report. I know a lot of people say a lot of things in different forms, and social media can get out of hand, and there's just people can say anything, and that's their right to say that. But when I read in the last month a comment on a social media page hosted by a local newspaper, which I think gives a little bit more credence than to just a non-managed, non-administered group page or someone's own personal account, but a page associated with a local newspaper. And the accusation is there are lots of crooks in Hendersonville government. Again, that's something anyone can say and have the right to say. But when that comment comes from an appointed official of this government, who is also the relative, an elected official of this government, I think it could cause members of this community to give undue weight and authority to that comment, which is not fair to the other elected officials of this community, and especially not fair to the professional staff of this city. I think that comments like that, if taken seriously, could have negative implications upon employees of this city in being able to pursue their livelihood and their professional standing. And again, I'm just going to ask that if accusations are going to be made like that by an elected official or an appointed official of this city, that there's a responsibility to be specific, and even if have to bring them to this committee. Because if there is something, if there's wrongdoing going on, I will be happy to address it in this committee and look at it and do any sort of investigation that we need to do, particularly if it's considered financial. And it's very, very hard to have wrongdoing that isn't some way related to finances, the city's finances. So I would ask again that this committee's responsibility with folks within their sphere of influence, both elected officials and appointed officials and the relatives of both, that if there is an accusation or a belief of wrongdoing in this city, instead of making a blanket statement in social media, and particularly that of a social media account for a news source, bring it to this committee, bring it to someone. And if that evidence is not there and is not willing to be brought forward, then show some more respect and show more restraint, not just for the elected officials of the city, but as I said, the professionals of this city, who in some cases have decades, either so far in with this city or perhaps decades to go. And I just don't think it's fair to them, and I don't think it's fair for us for those to happen. So we're in a position where we can address those. Essentially, I can summarize everything in one statement. I would ask anyone who wants to say something like that to either put up or shut up. And that's what it comes down to.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I will be happy to discuss with anyone who wants to.
I'm not going to be intimidated by you anymore. I'm not going to be bullied by you anymore.
All right, Arlene.
And to speak in generalities like that, and that the reason I didn't approve those minutes was because I thought your statements last meeting were very inappropriate for a finance meeting. And I'm not going to be intimidated by you anymore.
Let me say this about intimidation stuff. I'm not familiar.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
And I was going through my brain, and just to speak bluntly, and he wouldn't mind me bringing up here because he's the reason I'm in politics. My brother has very strong opinions, and he has the right to have those. And he'd be the first one to tell you right now they're directly opposed to me in a lot of areas. But if he were to make certain accusations that there was nefarious activities or something like that, I'd be the first to call him on it. So
I will be happy to speak in specifics if you would like for me to speak in specifics.
Is this related to a member of this committee?
Yes. I would be happy to, because it may not be fair for me to say don't speak in generalities and then I speak in generalities. I was trying not to.
Well, I'd like for us all just to take a
Mrs. Cunningham's sister, who is also a member of the Board of Beautiful Hendersonville, has been very pointed in her comments about specific members of Hendersonville city government. But since our last conversation, our board's last meeting, her accusation is on the page of the Hendersonville Standard, I believe, that there are lots of crooks in Hendersonville city government.
She never said that.
Just because it's being recorded, I've handed my phone over to Mrs. Cunningham so she can see a screen capture of the shot. And now I'm passing it over to Mr. Stamper.
Well, she has her opinion.
She does.
She has her opinion.
I would lean on the side of we do, and I can certainly speak to Ms. Gagnon as she's in my ward, in my neighborhood, and I consider her a friend. She has very strong opinions and things like that. But there is a point in time where we have to monitor ourselves in all spheres of our lives when we're elected or appointed, and so I see validity to Mr. Sprout's argument.
It concerns me because an appointed official of this city, words carry a little more weight, and the family member of an elected official carries a little more weight. I found that out.
Well, that family member doesn't like her twin sister to be bullied by somebody else on this committee, and intimidated, and cornered in a hallway. There's a way to conduct yourself in a professional manner.
Which is why I'm having
And that's not how to conduct yourself in a professional manner. Maybe you could get away with it with other people, but you're not going to get away with it with me.
Which is why I'm having this conversation with other people
That's
in the room.
why I have blocked you from my Facebook page years ago. Because outside of this government and this committee, I don't wish to have any kind of a relationship with you.
Well, that's the beauty of us all being elected from different parts of the city, and we deal with constituents that we don't agree with and don't like. And Scott said it when we started this committee 2 years ago when I was elected chairman, that he hoped that we'd have a level of civility. I think it's ebbed and flowed, and I would just, again, encourage the members of this committee and our relatives to know that words do carry weight. I myself have been called a crook today on social media. Usually it's a daily occurrence.
And so was I. So have I.
But when it comes from someone, and if I recall, we just recently reappointed Natalie to her position on beautiful Hendersonville. I think there's some merit. I think there is some merit to what Scott's saying. I just would hopefully let's just close it with let's think upon this and reflect for the future.
Well, there was all sorts of. It's unfortunate that even previous wild accusations are even hinted at, but I do not view this as intimidation. When it's asked that we handle this in a professional manner, that's why I'm doing this in a public meeting. I'm able to have my information with me, so when it's said that no one ever wrote that, I'm able to say, yes, here it is.
I've never seen it.
I understand. But the question that I ask is,
how could I respond to something that I don't have no knowledge
and I'm not asking you to right now, but if you could, between now and our next meeting, if there is actual knowledge or thought of there being criminal activity by anybody in this city government, that your sister may have any knowledge of that, as she says, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's lots of criminals in City Hall. If you can have a conversation with her and ask for her to provide any of that information, I would be happy for us to review it in this committee. I would be happy to forward it to our ethics officer so they could review it. I would be happy to forward it to a DA so he could review it.
Well, a year or two ago, you were bashing me on Facebook, bashing me. I wouldn't dignify it with a response. The Standard called me to ask me to respond to a piece that you instigated, a hit piece that somebody wrote about me in a regional newspaper, and I said I'm not going to dignify it with a response.
I don't think that there's
because I have nothing to do with those people.
Mrs. Cunningham,
just because we disagree on things. I know all about it. I have the floor.
Okay.
Do not interrupt me.
Okay.
I didn't interrupt you.
Please.
Don't interrupt me, please.
Go ahead, Arlen.
A hit piece in the Standard that was instigated by you, and I have total proof of it.
Please present it.
From your Facebook page.
Please present it.
That other people have. I don't have it with me.
Next month, please present it.
I'm not going to dignify it with a response.
Then
like
we
I
can't
said,
believe it.
It was several. Oh yeah.
But if you
you can believe it.
Mrs.
You
Cunningham,
can believe it. I know, in fact, it happened, and the pictures were taken of you having meetings with those people. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I feel like I'm in high school again.
Okay.
Yes. Now, we'll say.
And I'm not going to be bullied by you anymore.
Okay,
Mr. Saper, I'd like to
Ms.
respond to
Cunningham.
that.
This
Ms.
meeting is
Cunningham?
adjourned. I'm done.
You can leave the meeting.
I'm
The meeting
done.
has
You
not
can
been
talk to
adjourned.
yourself, Scott.
I do want to say that we have a committee of 3 elected officials, and I do appreciate the efforts of everyone to try their best to get along. We certainly have differences of opinions and things. Scott, did you want to finish? what you
Yeah,
were
I think
saying?
that there was, it's very, very unfortunate that there was a very, I don't know what she's talking about. She says she has photos, she says that she has proof and she has documentation, and she refuses to present it, which could only lead me to believe that she has neither. And that I have contacts with certain people and I've spurred them to do certain things. Yes, a couple of years ago, Mrs. Cunningham did block me on social media, and it was the only time I've ever contacted her electronically ever in the time that we've been in office, or probably even before that, unless she sent me some email years ago when I was on the board and she wasn't, and I don't remember that. Was an issue came up on public safety when she was on public safety. I saw it on the agenda. Asked, and it had something to do with something in Ward 2. I asked Mrs. West if she knew about it. She didn't know about it, so I sent an email to Mrs. Cunningham saying, hey, I saw that there was something on the agenda about something in Ward 2. Is there anything we need to know about? I sent the email over the weekend because we get our agendas on Friday, and didn't hear back from her. And so I sent her a message via Facebook that said, hey, I know a lot of people don't check their emails on the weekend, but I sent you an email. If you have a chance to respond, let me know. And she did not respond to the email, and then that's when she blocked me from Facebook. And I'm sorry if that's considered intimidation. I'm sorry if that's considered bullying. But
No, he cornered me in the hallway.
Okay, well,
so
He cornered me in the hallway.
Scott, if you can
And then
indulge
kept
me
it up at the
by,
meeting.
by keeping the meeting open, just so I can say
Thank you.
this. I don't think that the issue is going to be resolved tonight. I would just ask us to
You owe me a huge apology, Scott.
to either bring forth evidence of wrongdoing, those types of things, as a valid request. Otherwise, I don't believe we need to have this discussion again at the committee, other than to say that we should all do our best to respect one another and work together as much as is practicable. Thank you.
thank you.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second. We're stand adjourned.